Religion and the economy. At first glance, these are two completely different spheres of life. However, as research shows, the influence of religion on the economic development of states and communities is immense. Historically, religion has played a key role in shaping people's worldview, their work ethic, and social structure. From ancient civilizations to the present day, religious beliefs and practices have influenced economic activity, and this influence can still be observed today. Today, we will explore how religious doctrines, from Protestant ethics to Islamic economics, have influenced the development of different regions of the world. We will demonstrate why in some countries where a particular religion dominates, the economy thrives, while in others, it stagnates. We will also examine how religion impacts social justice, governance, and entrepreneurship. History knows countless examples where religious teachings became powerful tools for mobilizing the masses, forming labor skills, and even creating new economic systems. But does religion always contribute to economic development? Can it become an obstacle on the path to prosperity? These and other questions will be addressed in today's episode, The Ancient World. For millennia, religion has significantly influenced the development of society and its economic system. The first mentions of the connection between religion and the economy can be found in ancient texts related to governance, laws, and moral norms. Ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and China created complex systems of governance in which religion played an important role. Temples often served not only as religious centers, but also as economic institutions. For example, in Mesopotamia, temple estates managed significant resources, ensuring economic stability and societal development. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs, as divine rulers, controlled and redistributed resources, which was considered a sacred duty before the gods. Many ancient religious codes contained provisions related to economic activities. For example, the Babylonian Code of Hammurabi, circa 1754 BCE, clearly regulated trade, interest rates, and property rights. These laws, based on religious and moral beliefs, influenced the economic life of society and stimulated the development of trade and crafts. Ancient Greek philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle also discussed economic issues, closely linking them with ethical and religious views. Aristotle, for instance, in his works analyzed concepts of wealth, trade, and fair exchange, viewing them through the lens of ethics and religion. These ideas influenced the development of economic thought, particularly Christian theology in the Middle Ages. The medieval era. When we talk about the Middle Ages, the first things that come to mind are mighty kings, impregnable castles, and of course the Crusades and the Inquisition. But have you ever wondered how deeply religion influenced the economy of those times? Today we will delve into history and explore how faith shaped not only the souls, but also the wallets of medieval people. First, let's remember that in the Middle Ages, religion played a central role, dominating all aspects of life. The church did not merely preach moral norms, it actively participated in economic life. The existence of monasteries, the trade in indulgences, and donations were all integral parts of the economy of that time. But how exactly did religion influence economic development? Let's start with the issue of property. At that time, the church was one of the largest landowners in Europe. The lands owned by monasteries and bishoprics brought in huge revenues from agriculture, allowing the church to accumulate significant wealth. But this fact had a downside. Large amounts of land held by the church limited the economic opportunities of other social groups. Another important aspect was the system of obligatory church taxes, such as the tithe. The tithe was a tenth of one's income that every Christian had to give to the church. These funds were used for the construction of new churches, helping the poor, and maintaining the clergy. As a result, church taxes became an important tool for wealth redistribution. However, the influence of religion on the economy was not only direct. Religious beliefs played an important role as well. For example, according to Catholic teaching, usury, that is, lending money at interest, was considered a sin. This limited the development of banking in Catholic countries compared to the same Jewish communities where such prohibitions did not exist. Nevertheless, religion could both restrain and stimulate accelerate economic development. Take, for example, the so-called Protestant ethic described by Max Weber. Weber argued that the Protestant Reformation, with its emphasis on hard work and personal responsibility before God, was one of the reasons for the rise of capitalism in Northern Europe. Although this happened after the Middle Ages, the roots of such views can already be traced back to the beginning of the Reformation. Religion in the Middle Ages was not just a matter of faith, it deeply influenced economic life, regulating both the moral and material aspects of society. By observing these interconnections, we can gain a deeper understanding of why medieval Europe developed the way it did. The first studies. To understand the impact of religion on the economy, we need to go back to the beginning of the 18th century when theories about the connection between religion and economic processes first began to emerge. One of the first to draw attention to this was Adam Smith. In his work, The Wealth of Nations, 1776, Smith argued that religious groups could significantly influence economic processes. He believed that religion, in addition to its spiritual function, could play a role in shaping people's economic behavior. Smith viewed religious sects as social institutions that contribute to economic growth. He noted that participation in religious groups could bring economic benefits to their members. For example, membership in a sect could mean that a person manages their risks properly, which increases their economic efficiency. Also, within religious groups, rules and sanctions were established that promoted trust and reduced uncertainty in economic transactions. After Smith, the theory of the connection between religion and the economy continued to develop. By the early 19th century, there were already attempts to explain how religion influences economic behavior and societal development. However, the most significant work in this context was Max Weber's The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, published in 1905. Weber argued that the Protestant Reformation played a key role in shaping the capitalist spirit due to the influence of its belief system. It is important to note that before Weber, in the 19th century, there were already ideas that religious beliefs and practices could influence economic behavior. It was Weber who managed to link these ideas to specific economic outcomes and proposed a theory that explained why Protestant countries in Northern Europe developed faster than Catholic countries in Southern Europe. Weber argued that the Protestant ethic, with its emphasis on work, discipline, individualism, and thrift, created the prerequisites for capitalist development. Thus, the foundations for understanding that religion could significantly influence economic processes were laid even before Weber. However, it was his work that became a turning point in research on this topic, making religion an important factor in analyzing economic development. The essence of Max Weber's thesis on the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. Max Weber is one of the most prominent sociologists and economists whose work, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, has had a significant impact on understanding the role of religion in the development of capitalism. In his book, published in 1905, Weber made a revolutionary claim that the Protestant Reformation helped create new economic and social conditions that eventually led to the rise of capitalism. The essence of Weber's thesis is that Protestantism, particularly its Calvinist form, brought significant changes to people's worldview. Weber argued that the Protestant ethic, based on the belief in predestination, instilled new values in people, such as diligence, thrift, and rationality. These qualities became the foundation for the development of capitalism. Weber paid special attention to the concept of predestination, characteristic of Calvinism. According to this doctrine, God had already decided who would go to heaven and who would not. This led people to strive to prove their election through success in worldly life. Accumulating wealth and success in business came to be seen as signs of divine blessing, which increased motivation for economic activity and the development of capitalist society. The Protestant ethic not only changed individual attitudes toward work and wealth accumulation, but also created the basis for a new type of social control. Weber argued that Protestantism contributed to the formation of highly organized and interconnected communities, where social ties and collective efforts played a key role in economic growth. Protestant societies, especially in Northern Europe, were characterized by a high level of social cohesion, which, according to Weber, contributed to economic prosperity. These societies were more developed compared to Catholic countries in Southern Europe, where the Catholic faith focused on other aspects of life that did not contribute to similar economic growth. Weber's theory sparked much debate and criticism. Some scholars, such as Carl Fischer and Felix Rockfall, questioned the idea that the Protestant ethic was the key factor in the development of capitalism. They argued that economic conditions could have been the result of other factors not directly related to religion. However, despite the criticism, Weber's work remains fundamental in the fields of sociology and economics. His thesis on the influence of religious beliefs on economic behavior continues to be relevant and widely discussed in academic circles. Modern research, religion, and economy. Today, interest in the connection between religion and the economy remains strong. Modern researchers continue to analyze this issue, but opinions often differ. Some scholars believe that religious beliefs can positively influence economic behavior. They argue that religion can encourage adherence to contracts, strengthen social cohesion, and even reduce the level of corruption in society. For example, in countries with a Protestant ethic, a higher level of trust and cooperation between people is observed, which contributes to economic growth. However, other studies point to opposite effects. For example, religion can hinder innovation and modernization, especially in countries with rigid political and legal systems. Some researchers believe that religious doctrines may impede business development by limiting opportunities for innovation and economic growth. Special attention is given to the impact of Islam on the economy. Here, opinions are also divided. Some scholars believe that Islam can restrain economic development, especially in countries with conservative legal systems. Others, on the contrary, argue that the problem lies not in religion per se, but in cultural and institutional barriers. Islam as a religion can stimulate economic activity, but only if the cultural and legal systems in these countries promote development and modernization. Moreover, modern research shows that the impact of religion on economic development can vary depending on the region and historical context. For example, in some countries, religion positively influences the economy, while in others it may become an obstacle to development. One of the recent studies that sheds light on how religious beliefs can program economic processes is the work of Hoffman. In his 2013 study, Hoffman asked, how can religion, as a cultural and social phenomenon, influence people's economic behavior? He found that religious beliefs not only shape personal moral principles, but also affect economic decision-making. For example, people for whom religious norms are important may be more cautious in the stock market or more likely to adhere to contractual obligations. But Hoffman goes further, considering religion as an important social institution that acts as a group identity. This means that religion influences not only the behavior of individuals, but also shapes societal norms and the overall economic structure. For example, in societies with strong religious traditions, trust within the community can promote the development of small businesses and local economies. Hoffman's research showed that religious beliefs can have both positive and negative impacts on the economy, depending on the context. This is an important contribution to understanding how the spiritual sphere intersects with the material one. For example, in societies where religion encourages diligence and thrift, favorable conditions for economic growth can be created. At the same time, religious norms that, for example, restrict entrepreneurial activity or consider the accumulation of wealth a sin can slow down economic development. A vivid example is the Islamic norm that prohibits usury. Hoffman also draws attention to how religious communities can create networks of mutual support that strengthen trust and cooperation among market participants. This is especially important in unstable economic conditions when trust in formal institutions may be undermined. One of the key findings of Hoffman's study is that religion as a social institution can be a powerful tool for shaping sustainable economic systems. It influences the behavior of both individual market participants and entire communities, creating unique conditions for economic interaction. Thus, Hoffman's research demonstrates that religion is not just a set of spiritual practices, but also an important factor influencing economic development. Religion can even offer guidance on economic policy. For instance, in the book Reformation, The Success of Europe and the Chance for Ukraine, co-authored by Nobel laureate Vernon Smith, it is emphasized. The Bible repeatedly expresses the idea that one should not borrow, but rather lend, as this brings power over other nations. Here is a quote from the Bible, Deuteronomy 15:6. "For the Lord your God will bless you as he promised you, and you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow, and you will rule over many nations, but they will not rule over you." This passage refers to how God will bless Israel, and how it will become powerful and wealthy, becoming a creditor to other nations while not borrowing itself. For comparison, here is a quote from the famous Chinese thinker Confucius. "The noble man is concerned with righteousness, the petty man is concerned with profit." Can you feel the difference? Friends, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also support us on Patreon. Thank you for watching and for your comments.